Hey guys, welcome back. Today we'll try to understand the filtering section. But in the last video, again, we saw all these filters that are available for pivot table, and we kept slicers as a separate topic or a separate video altogether. There is a reason behind it. So I'll show you why it is why I have kept it separately, and there are various options that are available for slicers that I need to explore and that cannot be covered in one video. Hence, I kept slicers separately. And it's a very important tool in Excel or for pivot tables. Yeah. So I'll just remove all these topics as of now because we know that we have to cover only slicer today. So suppose I have this pivot table. Yeah, I'll just remove this filter which is available for report. I'll take this a bit up. Yeah. So suppose I have instead of date, I have this name here. Okay. I have this one pivot table and I have another pivot table. No, before going to the another pivot table, let me first tell you what slicer is. So it is a kind of filter as well in Excel, which is used along with pivot tables or without pivot table. That's okay. Yeah. So using one or more slicers, it is a very quick and effective way to filter your data. Slicers can be inserted for each of the fields that you want to filter. Slicers will have buttons denoting the values of the field that it represents. You can click on the buttons of slicer to select or unselect a particular value. Yeah. Now slicer stays visible with the pivot table, so you will always know what fields are used for filtering and what values in those fields are shown or hidden. So in order to understand this, first let's insert the slicer. Now slicer can be inserted from two ways. That is, you go to the insert tab. You go to the insert tab on the ribbon. Again, if I have to again remind you how we can access it using the on-screen keyboard, I have to click on Alt. Yeah. So Alt will give me the buttons or the alphabets for each menu. So I have for insert, I have N. So I'll click on N. Once I click on N, it will give me all the options. For slicer, it is SF. So I click on SF to open the window from where I need to select which slicer I want, on which field I do require the slicer. Okay. So this is one way of doing it. Yeah. So go to insert and within the filters group, you select the slicer command. That's one way. The second way of inserting a slicer is once you click your cursor or if you bring your cursor on the pivot table, as you know, we get this two tabs, new tabs, which are relevant to pivot table only because these are pivot table tools. Okay. So once I get these two tabs, I need to click on Analyze. And within this Analyze section, you have the filter group in which you have Insert Slicer. Okay. So to insert a slicer, as I told you, go to Insert and add a slicer or come to the pivot table. Once you get this pivot table tools within Analyze, you need to click on Insert Slicer. So let me quickly insert a slicer. So what is that you get once you click on insert slicer is this window where you have all the fields. Now I need to select the field for which I require a slicer. Suppose I require the slicer for department. Yeah. And I require a slicer for month. So I can have multiple slicers as per my requirement or as per my need. Okay. I'll just add one slicer as of now. I'll show you department. So you can see this is a nice way of representing your filter within the section. So every time I select something here, see this? It keeps on changing. Yeah. So it's a very beautiful way of filtering your data and know, and as I select, I know, okay, this particular data that I've selected is only for sales. Yeah. I'm visually able to see what I'm filtering it out. Yeah. So again, let me remove this filter. I'll go to analyze. I'll say insert filter. As I added one filter, I can have multiple filters. So I can have department and I can have month as my filter. So I say, okay. So you see this two filters that have come. One is for department and one is for month. Yeah. So this is how you insert slicers for a pivot table. Now suppose, how do I filter out? Now you will ask me, how do I filter out my data? Yeah. So I can have one section at a time, which can be filtered, or there is an option for multi-select. So if I go here, there on the top of the slicer, you'll find this option, yeah, with the checkbox. So if I click on that, I get the option to multi-select. You see this multi-select Alt S. Yeah. So I have the option to multi-select. I can have multiple selections that I can do. Yeah. Another way of multi-selection is you press Control key on your keyboard. So I have my keyboard, press Control key and just click on the other value. So suppose I have selected sales. I selected sales. Yeah. And I want marketing also to be selected along with sales. So I'll say press my Control key on my keyboard. I'll just show you. Where is my on-screen keyboard? I closed it incidentally, I guess. Okay, so I have this. So I go back to my, okay, sales I have selected. I press Control key and I'll select marketing. It's not getting selected. Yeah, see this? So I have selected multiple, I can go pressing the control button, I can select, have multiple selection. Yeah, I can have HR, or I can, again, if I press on control and if the particular section is selected, suppose marketing is already selected, I want to remove it. I again press control button and press on marketing and marketing is unselected. Okay, I can have the data only for March. Yeah, you can see this. Feb, Jan, I can have multiple, I can remove the filter and I have for all the months. So this is how you can filter out your data in this particular pivot table using the slicer. So we saw how we can insert a slicer, how we can filter data within a slicer. We also saw how we can clear the filter. So I can just click on this filter option, which is available on the right hand corner or the top corner of your slicer tool or the slicer pop-up that is available. You can click on this option and all the slicers or all the filtering is removed. Yeah, pretty easy. So we saw how we can use a slicer to filter the data. Now, that's an important thing that you need to see. Okay, just have a look at the tab on the ribbon next to the power pivot. You do not have anything here. But as soon as I click on the slicer that I have created, there is a new tool that is been shown, that is slicer tools. Okay. Now you have this slicer tool that is available, which you can use to control your slicer. Let's explore this tool as well. So I'll go to the slicer tool options. Now there are various options that are available. Let me start. How do I start? Let me start from here, right hand side. Let me go one by one. So the first section is your slicer caption. Now what slicer caption is the header that is displayed on the slicer. So anything that is available here, that is the header. Suppose I want this header to be changed. So what I'll do is I'll go here, I'll say DEVT name. Press OK. You find this. So I have changed the slicer caption, and accordingly it has got changed here. Pretty easy. Now let's move on to the next section, which is slicer settings. So let me remove this. So the slicer setting is the next option below, just below slicer caption. So as soon as I click on slicer settings, there is a new window that opens up. Here again, we have this name of the field. This is not the caption. This is the name of the field from where we have got the data. Yeah. So the source name of the data. So anything, if I want to use in formulas, that could be provided here. Yeah. Display, for display, we have changed the caption. You have seen this. If I remove the display header, you will not be able to see the caption name. Yeah. So since I want the caption name, I'll say okay. So we are able to see the caption name. Let me go to the setting. How do I want to sort the data? Suppose this is unsorted. Like you can see the department name, the finance, HR, IT, M, O, P, Q, R, S. Now, if I want it to be sorted in a descending order, yeah, item sorting and filtering. I say okay. See this? It has got filtered or sorted in the descending order. Previously, it was in an ascending order. See, once again, I'll do this. So you can see finance going up, sales coming down. Same way, if I want to hide item with no data, yeah, visually indicate items with no data, show items with no data last, or show items deleted from the data source. Yeah, so if I have deleted some data from the data source and you want to see that as well, that will be shown here. If you do not want to see that data, I'll just remove it and it will not be shown. Yeah, so these are some of the slicer settings. And this is particular to a data within the slicer. So suppose I remove all the sales department from this particular data, it will still be shown because it is asking me show item deleted from the data source. So I'll show you once. So if I try to delete all sales, so I'll just filter out sales and I delete this data. Yeah. I go to the pivot table, I refresh it. Yeah. You see here, sales is deleted. Even though there is no data, I am still able to see here the option that is there because I have selected in the settings. In the settings, I have selected to show the deleted data source as well. So if I remove this, sales will not be shown because I have deleted sales from the original data. Okay, let me bring back everything. Okay, so we are back to normal. Yeah, so this was a slicer settings. Yeah, next is report connections. Now, suppose you have multiple pivot tables from the same data, and you will not require to create all these pivot tables once again, right? And you don't want to create a separate slicer, the same slices for the separate pivot. Suppose I have the same data and I have it with the form of a department. So now I can move out name and I will have what I'll say. I have employee ID. Okay, so I have instead of name, I have employee ID, but the data is the same. I may not have employee ID and this particular same is same. I'll have role. Okay. So I have on the other section, I have department and month, which can be filtered, and I have role and name pivot table separately. But if I try to filter out the data, you'll find it is filtering both the data. Why? Because if I go to the slicer section and if I see report connections, this particular slicer department name is connected to both of them. Yeah, since it is the checkbox is available here. Both have been checked. Okay. But suppose I say I do not want this slicer to affect pivot table 6. So I'll say, okay. Yeah. Now, if I try to select department, any department, my names are not changing, but the pivot table, which is with the rows, it is changing based on the department that I select. Yeah. Now, suppose if I want to have this slicer available for the above pivot table as well, I'll go to report set connections once again, and I'll click on the checkbox next to the pivot table that is available. I'll say OK, and you'll find the sales is now affecting both the pivot table. So connection is nothing but you can have one slicer for multiple pivot tables. Okay, same way for the month that I've selected. If you see Jan, it is affecting both. Okay, so report connection is nothing but having one slicer for multiple pivot tables. Same way I showed you how I can remove a particular pivot table if I do not want to filter it using the slicers. Next, that we have to see on the list is the slicer styles. So if I want to have a different color or something like that, yeah, for this particular slicer, you can see the style is changing. Pretty simple. I do not want to waste time on this, but you need to know all the options that are available. So that's why I'm just taking you through. So if I want to have some other coloring for this particular slicer, I can do it that way. Or I can have a new style being created altogether. Okay, which I have seen in tables as well. So I'll just skip this as of now. Okay, so I make this department in a different color and month in a different color. Okay, so this was the slicer styles. There is nothing but how you can color or format your slicer to look uh, or to suit the dashboarding that you do. Okay. Now, another option that you have is suppose I have this slicers above one another. Okay, I have month above department name. I want to bring it forward, or I want to bring it I want to send it to backward or behind a department. So I'll say send backward, and you see it has gone to the back. So even though if I move it and move it again here, it will still be at the back. Okay, so whichever slicer that you select and click on forward backward. So I want to be again bring it to forward. So I'll say forward. So it has come front. Or if I want to take it back, so if there are multiple uh, slicers. So if I suppose I have one more slicer, so let me insert one more slicer. Actually, insert slicer. Okay, I need to select the pivot table. Insert slicer. I want a pivot table for department now. No, not department. Probably name. Okay. Now I have this multiple pivot tables, and I have them overlapping each other. Bringing it forward will bring it on the topmost line. Yeah. When I'm telling it to move to back, it will just move one step back. So it will take me behind name, but it will be ahead of department. So you say send to back. See, yeah. I have already made it backward. So I again may send it to backward. You'll find, see this? It is come in the middle of both this pivot table. So it is just nothing but alignment of your slices, how you want to appear, make them appear on this particular screen. The most important part that I want your people to see is the selection pane. Yeah, you can play around with this bring forward or send forward, but selection pane is one of the important thing that I want your people to see. So as soon as I click on the selection pane, there is a window that opens on the right hand side. So you can see here, there's a window that has opened. Now I have these three slicers. You can see this. As soon as I click on any of the slicer, it just there is a selection that is happening on that particular slicer as well. So if I try to click on month, the selection happens on month. You can see there are dots that are coming on the border of the slicer. Same, I go to department, go to name. Yeah, I can select this. Now you need to understand the symbols that are available here on the right hand side of each slicer. These are very important. Okay. Now these are all showing as an eye. Yeah, you can see a eye which has been shown. And it has a separate meaning for altogether for each symbol. An eye symbol suggests that the particular slicer is visible. Yeah. And if I click on that eye, you can see the slicer gets hidden. Yeah. So I can hide or make the slicer viewable by clicking on these options. Here. Okay. So I can have the slicer. I can suppose I can select the data should be of February, and I can hide this slicer so that no one is able to change this data from anywhere. Yeah, he can select it from this filter, but I can remove this pivot table filters as well, as you know earlier. But this is how you can hide or make the slices viewable on your pivot tables. Again, if I have to clear all the selections, I'll just click on the clear button. Okay. The last thing that I want your people to see is the formatting part of the slicer is how you want the buttons to be sized, how you want, suppose I want two columns. So you can see there are two columns being created with this buttons. If I want only one column, if I want three columns, you can see just to make your space properly arranged while you're creating a dashboard for someone. Yeah, I'll just keep it 1 as of now. I can increase or decrease the height. You can see the heights of the data or the fields are getting reduced or increased based on the height or the width that I'm trying to select. So I'm reducing the width, or I can increase the width. Yeah. So this was for the buttons. You can see it is clearly mentioned. This happens only for the buttons which are within the slicer. If I want to do it for the whole slicer, then you have another option which is size, wherein I can increase or decrease the size of the entire slicer. So I can increase the height, I can increase the width, or I can increase the width or decrease the width or decrease the height. Yeah. So this particular section is for the slicer altogether, whereas the section next to it is for the buttons within the slicer. So these are buttons within the slicer. Yeah, hope you understood this entire slicer tool that we have shown. Yeah, because that's very important when you're formatting your slicer, playing around with your slicer to make much useful or better looking when you're dashboarding your data or putting analytics onto your dashboards. Yeah, this will help you. This filters or slicers will help you to filter out your data. Hope you understood this entire concept of slicer and the filtering that is being done through the slicers and how this is useful. You can control a particular slicer or a pivot table or multiple pivot tables through one slicer itself. You do not need to do filtering for each pivot table separately. Hope you understood the concept of adding a slicer to pivot tables within Excel. Hope you like this video. Do like it, share it across with your colleagues who want to learn Excel. Comment if you want me to cover any of the topics that is important for you in this 365 days of Excel journey. And yes, do not forget to subscribe to my channel because that's how you're going to get all these videos directly to your inbox. Thank you so much.